Today we're going to be going over how to load the Christmas Advent houses into Cricut Design Space. There's two ways to do this. I have saved the SVG files as 24 houses in one, and I've also saved them as individual houses. So I'm going to show you both ways to open the files in Cricut Design Space, the changes that need to be made to them, and sending the files to cut. So let's get started. Here we are in Cricut Design Space, and we're going to choose New Project. Then we're going to come over here on the left side at the bottom where it says Upload. We're going to choose Upload. Now we're going to come up here to Upload Image. Then we're going to choose Browse. So now you're going to go and look for the files that you received at the time of your purchase. You will have needed to save these files somewhere on your computer. You would have also needed to unzip the folder so that you could see the individual files. I'm going to show you two ways to bring these into Cricut Design Space. You can choose which way works best for you. I'm first going to show you how to bring in all 24 houses at once and make the changes to them. And then you can proceed to cut them one at a time, or you can bring in one house at a time and make the changes and cut them. So we're going to start with this first file, which is the Christmas Advent houses 1 through 24. That's all the houses in one SVG file. So we're going to click on that file, and we are going to choose Open. This is going to take a second because it's a large file. Once you get to this screen and you can see the houses, they show up here in green. You will select that, then you'll choose Upload. The most recent uploads will show over here on the left-hand side of your screen. You're going to click on that until you see a green box show up around the houses. Then you're going to come over here to the right side and click Add to Canvas. So the houses come into Cricut Design Space quite large, and you can't see them all because it's such a large file. What you need to do at this point is take your mouse down here to the lower left corner of your screen where it says 100%. You're going to reduce the size of the screen to 25%, which is going to bring the houses into view. If you still can't see all of the houses, click on the file and slightly drag it to the right. At this stage where you can see all of the houses, you are going to right-click and choose Ungroup, or alternatively, you can select the whole grouping of houses and go over here to your Layers panel and choose Ungroup. Once you do this, it removes the houses from being selected all together, whereas it would be all 24 houses in one grouping, and it allows you to access the houses in groupings of one house at a time. As an example, here we're on house 1, and it is still grouped together, all of the parts for house 1. So let's start with house 1. Let's click on house 1, and what we can do if we want to see it better is once you've clicked on it, you can go back down here to the bottom left corner where it says 25% and hit the plus key, and it's going to bring that house that you have selected up larger on your screen so you can see it better. Now, the way that I have set these up to try to make it easier for you is that when you click on the house, the changes that need to happen for each file can be done all at once. And let me show you what I mean by that. You select the file over here on your Layers panel, scroll all the way to the top, and for this very first house only, there is a wreath, and I've set it up so that that wreath can be separate so that you can change the color of the wreath. So we're going to come up here to Operation. Let me show you that one more time. Over here in the Layers panel, at the top, we clicked on this very first item in the Layers panel. And if you look, it selected the wreath here on your screen. We're going to go over here to Operation. We're going to click the down arrow, and we're going to choose Pen. And that changed it over here in the Layers panel from Cut to Pen. The next thing we're going to do is change the color. I like to print these out in red or green, the wreath, so I'm going to choose, let's see here. I'm going to choose Very Berry, okay? And that's just telling the machine that you're going to load the pen Very Berry when it comes time to put your pen in the machine. And you can see that it changed color here. This is the only house you'll need to do this for because I only put the wreath in the very first house. After that, all these steps will be very similar. So what you will do then is come over here to the very first grouping. If you just click on the title up here of the first grouping, there's 4 items in this particular one. You can go over here and select pen, and that's gonna set this cut to actually show that these are actual pen lines around the windows and doors instead of an actual cut line. So here you can see in the layers panel, it's changed them to pen. And then I also, when I did mine, chose the gray pen, Armadillo, because it added a nice accent, but it wasn't too bold. So I went here under this little color panel next to pen, and it selected a drop down arrow, and I chose Armadillo, and those colors are now changed. This house is now done. It is ready to cut. The one last step you need to do is click off of it and then click and drag so that you select all the pieces in this house. Then you're going to take your mouse over here to the bottom of the layers panel and you're going to choose attach. That's going to hold this layer all together for you when you go to make it. Then we're just going to head on to the next house. We're going to click on it, and when you click on these houses, it takes you right to the house you're working on, okay? And it highlights it over here. If I click on one of these, see how everything turns white? If I click on the whole house, it highlighted everything in that grouping, which is kind of nice. It's going to make it easier for you. So you click on it, then you know you're working within this group. Click on that very first category. You'll know you're on the right category because there's numbers in there, and oftentimes there's black boxes. So click on that very first category, come over here up under operation, choose pen, then choose the pen color, which is right next to that. I chose Armadillo. And then go ahead and click on it again just so you know where you're working. You can see that these changed to pen lines from cut lines over here. The next grouping down in that same category, if you look, there was our pen lines. The very next grouping down, if you click on that title, it's going to highlight everything that needs to be scored. You're going to click on that title till everything turns gray. You're going to come up here under operation and you're going to click score. And you can see here on that panel that all of those lines turn to score lines. And that's it for that house. We're going to click off of the house so that nothing is selected. Then we're going to highlight everything that's in that house, and then we're going to choose attach. Again, attach is at the bottom of the layers panel. Then we're just going to keep moving through these houses one at a time. Make sure you choose attach because when you go to make it, you want all those lines, especially the score lines, to stay in place. So we're going to do this again. We're going to click on house 3. We're going to make sure we're scrolled to the top over here of house 3. We're going to click on that first grouping, come over to operation, and choose pen. Change the color of your pen to Armadillo, and then select off of it. We're going to go to the second grouping on house 3. We're going to choose score, and there our dashed lines showed up. Now we're going to highlight all of house 3. We're going to choose attach. Going to go to house 4. We're going to choose the first grouping. We're going to choose pen, change the color of the pen. Go to the second grouping, choose score, click off of it, highlight the entire house, and select attach. We're going to do one more house, and then I'm going to get rid of the other ones, and we're going to go ahead and make it because I think you're getting the hang of it now. House 5, we're going to click on it. It's going to highlight everything over here in the layers panel. Click on the first grouping, choose pen, click on the second grouping, choose score, click off, highlight everything, choose attach. So at this point, we're going to go back down here in the bottom left and we're going to zoom out so I can show you. The first 5 houses here are done. We can scroll over too so you can see everything. See, the first 5 houses are done and they're ready to cut. I am going to, for time's sake, so this doesn't end up being a very long and boring video, get rid of the other houses so I can show you the next step. So here's our first 5 houses, and we're going to choose over here in the upper right corner, make it. Now you can see that each of the houses showed up on a separate mat, but their pieces of each house are bundled together. We're going to change the size. These houses are all designed to be cut on 8.5 by 11 paper. They're set up that way. I pre-designed them that way. It's for simple creation. If you want to change the sizes, you'll want to change them all together, or at the very least, change every piece in the group together. I'll show you that in the next phase if we're going to do one house at a time. Let's finish this section first. So we've set our material size to 8.5 by 11. You can see on the screen that our score lines are all intact. They're where they should be. Everything looks good. We're going to click continue in the lower right corner. We're going to set our base material. I am using 65-pound cardstock. I know that there is a 65-pound cardstock option in Cricut, but because of the nature of these houses with all the little squares and windows and details, I have chosen to select the 80-pound cardstock material, even though I'm using 65-pound cardstock. I've chosen to do that. You can choose to do it how you want, but I just wanted to make sure that everything cut all the way through and I didn't have any problems when I went to peel the cardstock from my mat. I also, under pressure, selected more, just to make sure all those little corners and everything cut out good. At this stage, we've chosen medium cardstock, 80-pound for our material. We've increased the pressure to more. It's telling us now, load your gray pen and your single scoring wheel into your machine. So I will go ahead and do that. And after that, I'm going to load my 8.5 by 11 cardstock onto a 12 by 12 cutting mat. I'm going to load that mat into my machine, and I'm going to hit go after my pen and my scoring wheel are loaded in the machine. I will hit go. I think it's going to make the score lines first and then do the pen lines. And when it's done with that, it's going to flash. And that's when you know you need to add your fine point blade into the machine. So you'll have to take out your scoring wheel and add your fine point blade in that place setting, cartridge B on your machine, and then your project will be complete. It will walk you through every one of these mats. You can leave as long as you're using the gray pen and you're not coloring that red colored wreath, which I think for whatever reason it showed up in your second one. So when you get to this one, it's going to tell you to load that colored pen. So that is how we do all of the houses in Cricut Design Space. I'm going to hit cancel here, and then we're going to go back and I'm going to show you how to one house at a time loads, which might be a little less overwhelming, but some of you may want to work quickly and you may appreciate the fact that you can prepare them all and get them going at once. Now we're going to go over how to upload one house at a time in Cricut Design Space. Here we are on our blank canvas. We're going to go to upload on the left bottom column of your screen. It says upload. You click on that one time. Then you will choose upload image. Then you will choose browse. Then you're going to go find the Christmas Advent House 1. You're going to click on that and you're going to choose open. Once it's up on your screen, you can choose upload. Then your recent uploads, the most current one, shows up at the far left of your recent uploads section. Click on that one until there's a green box around it, and then choose Add to Canvas on the lower right corner. Once the house is up on your canvas, you can come over here to the Layers panel, and see if it's not selected. There's no box around it. If the house is selected, you'll see a bounding box around it. Once you click on it and the bounding box shows up around your house, you can now start seeing in the layers panel, everything shows up as dark gray. We can work on one section of this house at a time by clicking on it. There's a couple of changes you need to make. The first is the wreath at the very top is going to be a pen line, and you can change the color of that by changing your pen color in your machine. So we would select the wreath, go up to Operation, select the drop-down menu, and choose Pen. Then we're going to go into this little color module right next to that operation and click on it. When a drop-down menu will show up, you will select the color you want to work with. I'm going to choose Very Berry and click off of it, and you can see that the wreath has changed to red. The next step will be the same for almost every house you do. You're going to have a section that has pen lines, a section that has cut lines, and a section that has score lines. And it's actually going to go pen lines, score lines, cut lines. So here we go. We're going to come over here to our layers panel, and we're going to click on this very first section right here where the numbers are, and then you have these kind of dark filled in boxes. This first section is the pen lines. So if you just click on the top, the title right here at the top, it's going to highlight everything in that section. These are all pen lines. So we go to Operation, we go to Pen, and then we want to choose the color pen. I'm using Armadillo for the lines around my windows, which is like a light gray. Choose Armadillo, click off of it, and you can see that these turned into like an outline around the windows and doors. If for whatever reason you don't want to use these houses as Advent houses, you just want to create a Christmas village, you can do that right here at the top, and you can turn off the numbers and they will disappear. And you would just click this little eyeball until a line shows up through it in your layers panel. And if you notice over here, it has disappeared on your house. So if you want them to not be Advent houses and just be a Christmas village, you can turn the numbers off. I've created them to do that. For now, I'm going to leave them on. The next step is to change all your score lines. I have grouped all the score lines together in one section so it's quick for you. You're going to click on that second section. Right below the pen lines, you click on the title and it's going to highlight all of your score lines together. Then you're going to go to Operation and you're going to choose Score. And that's it. We are ready to go to make it. The one last thing you need to do is click off of the item, especially after you've switched your score lines, because we want to make sure we're selecting everything in this. Then we're going to click and drag over everything in that file and let go. And now there's a bounding box around everything. And we can go to the bottom of the layers panel and choose this option down here. It's called Attach. We're going to click on that. And that is going to hold all your score lines in place so that when we go to make it, your score lines are where they're supposed to be. So this file is ready to go. We're going to choose Make It. And here it shows up on your mat. You're going to choose 8.5 by 11. All of these files are sized and designed to cut out of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. They're pre-sized, they come in the right size. So if you want to make them bigger, like say you want to go on 12 by 12 cardstock, you will need to change them over on your canvas before you get to this point. So we're going to change our material size to 8.5 by 11. And then we're going to click Continue. At this point, I'm going to choose medium cardstock, 80 pound, and I'm going to increase the pressure. And then it's telling you here, load your Armadillo, load your single scoring. You know, you're going to load your cardstock on your mat and load your mat into your machine. And it's going to walk you through the steps now that you need to go through to cut these files. The last thing I wanted to show you in Cricut Design Space is how to resize the files. These files are designed to come into Cricut Design Space and be cut on 8.5 by 11, 65 pound cardstock. If you should choose to increase the size of the files so that they will cut out on 12 by 12 cardstock, you can do that, but you will need to resize all of the pieces together. So they come in grouped, and as long as you haven't ungrouped the file, so When you click on it like this and you get the bounding box around it, look up here at the top. If this little lock icon is closed and everything in one house file is selected, you can go ahead and click and drag this corner lower right arrows, and it will increase and decrease the size of the file. Just keep in mind that in order to print on 12 by 12 cardstock in Cricut Design Space, your image cannot be bigger than 11.5 by 11.5. And so what you would do is you could, alternatively, if this lock was on, you could take the higher number of the width and the height, in this case it's the height, and you could just highlight it and choose 11.5, hit enter, and it will automatically scale the width to the right size. So this is how you would make the houses slightly bigger. But again, they need to be all connected, all in that resizing bounding box together to be resized. I hope you enjoy making this Christmas Advent Countdown House Village with your family. And from my family to yours, have a wonderful holiday season.